Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a tense that often seems a bit tricky, but is actually super useful for telling great stories, the past perfect continuous. I promise, by the end of this video, you'll be using it like a pro. So, what exactly is the past perfect continuous? Let's break it down. We use it to talk about a continuous action in the past that was happening before. Another past action occurred. Think of it as the backstory to your main event. It sets the scene and adds a layer of depth to your sentences. The structure is pretty straightforward. You use an had been, plus the verb with an ing ending. So, had been, plus verbing. For example, I had been studying, she had been working, they had been playing. Easy, right? Now, let's put this into a real-life context. Imagine you come home and the kitchen is a complete mess. Flour is everywhere, there are bowls in the sink, and it smells like chocolate. You ask your roommate, "What happened?" They might say, "I made a cake." That's simple past. But to really paint the picture and emphasize the duration of the activity. Before you came home, they could use the past perfect continuous. They could say, "Sorry about the mess. I had been baking a chocolate cake for hours before you got here." See the difference? I had been baking tells us that the baking was a long, continuous action that was in progress and just finished right before you arrived. It gives us that crucial context. It's not just a single event, it was an ongoing process. Let's look at another example. His eyes were red. Okay, that's an observation. But why were they red? His eyes were red because he had been crying. Here, had been crying is the long action that happened before. We noticed his red eyes. It explains the result we see in the past. It's really useful for showing cause and effect. The past. Perfect continuous action is often the cause, and the simple past action is the effect. Let's try another one. She failed the exam because she hadn't been paying attention in class. The effect? She failed the exam. The cause? The ongoing action of not paying attention that happened before the exam. Notice the negative form here. Had not been or hadn't been. It works just the same. Let's practice together. How would you connect these two ideas? I was very tired, and I drove for 10 hours. Think about which action happened first and was continuous. You got it. I was very tired because I had been driving for 10 hours. The long drive came first, and the result was feeling tired. Now, a common point of confusion is the difference between past perfect simple and past perfect continuous. Let's clear that up. Past perfect simple, like I had finished my homework, focuses on the completion of an action before another past event. The homework is done, finished, completed. Past perfect continuous, like I had been doing my homework, focuses on the duration of the action. It emphasizes the process. Maybe you finished, maybe you didn't. The main point is that you were busy doing it for a period of time. Let's compare. When he called, I had eaten dinner. This means dinner was completely finished when the phone rang. Plate was empty. When he called, I had been eating dinner. This suggests I was in the middle of eating. The action of eating was ongoing right up until he called. Maybe I put my fork down to answer the phone. So, past perfect simple is for a completed action. Past perfect continuous is for the duration of an action. Let's imagine a story. Sarah finally arrived at the party at 10 p.m. She looked exhausted. She had been working on a difficult project all day, and then she had been sitting in traffic for over an hour. In this little story, we use the past perfect continuous twice to explain why she was exhausted. First, the long-term action, had been working all day. Second, the more recent long action, had been sitting in traffic. Both of these things happened before she arrived at the party, and they perfectly explain her state. It makes the story much more vivid and informative, doesn't it? Let's try to build some conversational questions and answers. Someone might ask, "Why were you so late for the meeting?" You could reply, "I'm so sorry. I had been trying to find a parking spot for 20 minutes. This immediately explains the delay and emphasizes how long and frustrating the search was. Or, you looked so happy when I saw you yesterday. I was. I had just been talking to my best friend on the phone, who I hadn't seen in years. The joy is a result of that long, happy conversation that just ended. Let's do a little quiz to see if you've got it. I'll give you a situation, and you try to form a sentence using the past perfect continuous. Situation 1. Your friend's clothes are covered in paint. You ask them why. What had they been doing? They could say, I had been painting my bedroom. Situation 2. The ground was wet this morning, but it wasn't raining. What happened overnight? You could say, it had been raining earlier in the night. Situation 3. You finally found your keys. Where had you been looking for them? You could say, I had been looking for them everywhere for the past hour. You're doing great. The key is to remember it's all about an ongoing action in the past that gets interrupted or has a result in the past. It's a past before the past tense. One more thing to remember. We usually don't use this tense with stative verbs. Stative verbs are verbs that describe a state, not an action, like know, believe, own, seem, or love. For example, you wouldn't say, I had been knowing him for 10 years. You would use the past perfect simple. I had known him for 10 years. Because knowing is a state, not a continuous action. So, to recap the 3 main uses. First, to show the duration of a past action before another past action. They had been playing tennis for 2 hours before it started to rain. Second, to show the cause of a past action or state. He was out of breath because he had been running. And third, to describe a repeated action in the past before another. She had been calling him all morning before he finally answered. The past. Perfect continuous is your best friend for storytelling. It adds color, context, and a sense of time to your narratives. It helps your listener or reader understand the sequence of events and the reasons behind them. Next time you're telling a story about your day or something that happened in the past, challenge yourself to use it. Instead of saying, I was tired when I got home. I worked a lot, try saying, I was exhausted when I got home because I had been working on that report all day without a break. It sounds so much more natural and descriptive. I hope this breakdown has made the past perfect continuous a lot less intimidating and a lot more useful for you. Practice is key, so try to write a few sentences of your own in the comments below. I'd love to read them and give you some feedback. Thank you so much for watching today. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next grammar lesson. Keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.